carved with Sister Lucia supervising how she looked like. Sister Lucia, now this is another story. Do you love stories? I bet you do. Even those who are here, you love stories, don't you? And let me ask you, how does a story usually begin? Once upon a, I know I can't hear you, but you can probably say it right in front of your computers, right? Or iPads. Once upon a time, right? But a story that I'd like to share with you, the story in Fatima, Portugal. It's a little village. It's not a once upon a time. It's better than that. It's not a fairy tale. It's a true story. It happened. It's historical. 1917. It's not a once upon a time. It's better than, I don't know what kind of movies you're watching nowadays, but I have a 7-year-old daughter. She loves Frozen 1 and 2, right? That's a kind of a once upon a time. It's, Elsa and Anna, the story. But the story I'd like to share with you, it's real. It's a true story. I mentioned Sister Lucia. You probably wonder, who is Sister Lucia? And I'd like to show you, if cameras are seeing it, Sister Lucia is one of the 3 children. These are the most amazing kids I have ever read, I have ever known. Personally, not personally that I've known them, but reading the story of Fatima, the one that I'd like to share with you, the most amazing kid, Sister Lucia, is right here. She was 10 years old when Our Lady came down from heaven in the Cova de Iria, out in the field in Fatima, a little village named Fatima, Portugal. And of course, Lucia and her cousins, now Saint Jacinta, the youngest saint ever in the history of the church. So we have Saint Jacinta and her brother, Saint Francisco. Lucia is not a saint yet, but she is a servant of God. She lived until she was almost 98 years old. She only died in 2005, February 13, 2005. But the 2 young children, they died a little couple of years after the apparition. Now let's go back to that story. Why we do have a statue here today? I told you she's been traveling the world since 1947. And you history buffs out there, what was going on when she appeared in 1917 to these little shepherd children? 1917, at the height of the First World War. She appeared to them from May to October 1917. From May, June, July, August, September, and October. 6 times on every 13th day of each month. Our Lady appeared to them holding her rosary, asking her to pray the rosary every day because she said this prayer will bring you peace. Remember, during the war, she was asking, the war will end shortly. The war will end soon if you pray the rosary every day. So these children, they prayed the rosary. They did good and offered everything for the conversion of sinners and for peace in the world. Now let me go back to that story. I said once upon a time. It's 1917. It's, how many years ago was that? 75 years almost? Next year it'll be 75 years. So it's older than your grandma and your grandpa, right? But the story continues even today. That's the reason why we bring the statue. In 1947, shortly after the Second World War, the church realized that if only we do and we respond to the requests of the Blessed Mother, if we become like Jacinta, Francisco, and Lucia, there will be peace in our homes, in our own families, in in our country, peace in the world, right? Our Lady came with this simple message, the rosary and then the scapular. During those times, she appeared, especially on the last apparition, October 13, 1917. She held the rosary and the scapular. She said, this is what will bring you peace. Sister Lucia, she became a Carmelite nun. She said, Our Lady appeared as Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And she said the rosary and the scapular, they are inseparable. Now, I'd like to focus a little more on the scapular. You know, if you are so tempted to do something silly in your life, you know, you wear the scapular, you kiss them. Scapular, from the Latin word scapula, you know, your collarbone, you put it on there. That's the meaning of the scapular, as if it's the loving arms of Mary embracing you. So that's the scapular. It's a habit, it's a Carmelite habit that's a sign of our protection, a sign of our dedication, our devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Now, going back to the devotion of these children to the Immaculate Heart, you know, I love Francisco so much. You know, he would spend days, he would spend hours and hours every single day in front of what he calls the hidden Jesus in the tabernacle. And he would pray for the conversion of sinners. He said, I love God and Our Lady very much. They are so sad for all the sins by which they are offended. If we can console them with our sufferings, how happy we shall be. Francisco, he was just 9 years old at the time. I understand I'm probably talking to the first graders, to the 8th graders. We can all relate with this amazing, they are awesome, aren't they? Awesome children from Fatima, Portugal. Again, they were elevated as saints in the church, not because they saw Mary, but because they were transformed. They have become better in their prayers, in their daily chores, which is what Our Lady is asking us, to make everything you do a sacrifice. Make it holy. You know, your homeworks, your chores in the house, if your mom is asking you to wash the dishes or do your laundry or, you know, go get this, go get that, your teachers assign you a task. If we do it for God's greater glory, for the conversion of sinners, it will be great. As Our Lady promised, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. So again, going back to the statue that was sent in 1947, you'd be asking, you know, did she wear a crown at that time? It's a trivia, right? Our Lady of Fatima, did she appear with a crown on? No, she came as a mother. She is our queen. Pope Pius XII put the crown on Our Lady of Fatima in 1946. He said, we crown Our Lady as Queen of the world. And the next year, according to Pope Pius XII, said the next year she set forth as though to claim her dominion. And the wonders she performs along the way are such that we could hardly believe what we are seeing with our own eyes. Such is the charisma of the Pilgrim Virgin. They call it the Pilgrim Virgin. It travels. We go internationally. We go everywhere. I come from the Philippines originally. She's from Fatima, Portugal. We are here in the United States. We go to Europe, in France. We go to Germany. We go to South Africa. We go to Guam and Saipan. I was in Australia one time. We were in Haiti before the first big earthquake, asking them to offer it up for God's greater glory. We were all over the place, bringing Our Lady's message of hope, what we call the peace plan from heaven. And when we fly, listen to this. When we fly, I buy her a ticket, right? She sits right next to me. Who among you have been to airplanes, right? You know what I'm talking about. She sits right next to me, and she loves the window seat. Isn't that amazing? She could look over, where we fly over countries and territories, and I would put her in like a sleeping bag, and I would open the case, the bag, so she is exposed, and I will turn on the overhead light. Everybody in the airplane could see. And every once in a while, not every time, but the captain would inspect, of course. I would pre-board before everybody gets on board the airplane. I would get on board and secure her and put the seatbelt on and buckle it up, right? And the engineers, the flight engineers and security and the co-pilot and the captain would inspect if she's okay, and they would even announce before the takeoff. The pilot would say, "Folks, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a safe flight today because we have a very special passenger. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is among us in this flight." And you know what's going to happen? If it's a trip to Brazil, it's about 8 to 10 hour flight. There's no rest for me because everybody would like to take photos, and I would have those booklets and scapulars to distribute in the airplane. It's such a evangelization tool. And when we travel by land, I wish you were all here to see this beautiful motorhome parked here in front of St.Jerome's. We travel with Our Lady's recreational vehicle. Again, isn't it amazing how she travels in style? But then again, she go around the world so that we may become part of the story. I ask you if you love stories. It's a once upon a time, right? It's how it usually begins. But how does it end? How does a story usually end? They live happily ever after, right? These shepherd children of Fatima lived, it might have been a very short life, but they are now living their lives happily ever after in heaven with our Lord. That's their main goal. That's the prize. The life here on earth it's a blip. It's an instant, right? But we travel so that we can invite everybody to become part of the story of Fatima. The Blessed Mother appeared in Fatima again from May to October, but the story did not end there. Our role in the World Apostolate of Fatima, or commonly known as Our Lady's Blue Army, we have taken up this mission of bringing the message to all the world. Our Lady's Blue Army is to give everybody the chance that we may learn the message of Fatima, not only the story, but the message of Our Lady. The rosary, the first Saturday devotion, the sanctification of our daily duties, our brown scapular as a sign of our consecration to her Immaculate Heart. These simple things that we can do, that we may live it. Learn and live the message of Fatima. And of course, we'd like to share it. And how can we share it if we do not have it? We have to learn it from the Blessed Mother herself, that we too may become like her in receiving Jesus in this most blessed sacrament. Every time we come to Mass for communion, that we may have a worthy heart like Mary, that we may become like Saint Francisco and Saint Jacinta and Sister Lucia, that we too may live our lives happily ever after, right? I was talking to my kids earlier. I told them I'm going to give a brief talk on Our Lady's message to the first graders, to the 8th grade, and they sent me a text. They said, "Dad, if you would talk to the school children, even if it's just on YouTube or Zoom, I'd like to, they said, give us a shout out or something." And they know the message of Fatima. We've been doing this since even before I met my wife. I've been traveling with Our Lady of Fatima. So they kind of grew into it, and they said, Dad, if you were going to talk to the school children, let me give you a code, right? Like only the school children can understand. And I'd like to take my notes here if I can read it. They said, Dad, if you were going to talk to them, here's a pass code or password that not even their teachers, not even the priests can understand what the passcode means, but it pertains to the message of Our Lady of Fatima. They said, Dad, you should be talking about Xbox One and PS5 with Halo and Call of Duty. I don't think these people even here, or even your parents or teachers, can understand. I might be in trouble here. PS5? I think that's PlayStation, right? What about Xbox? That's another video console, right? I don't think that's what they really mean when they say Halo and the Call of Duty, right? But I think they understand what I'm trying to say. Because when you say sanctification of your daily duties, we are being called by God to do our daily duties. It's a call of duty. Now, when we talk about Halo, not those violent video games, I think if we have to give up something, it's probably your games, right? You would say, Dear Lord and Our Lady, I will give up maybe an hour of my time not playing video games or those games from your iPhones or iPads. I would say I would skip it and offer it up for God's greater glory. Because when they're talking about Xbox Ones with the Halo, I don't think it refers to the video game. But with the Halo, right? We are being called by God to be saints. So I think it's not those games, but it's about those ideas that leads us. Those actions, Call of Duty, we have been given by Our Lady by a weapon, the rosary, and a shield, the scapular, right? So we can be in this battle to fight the enemy. You know, the sinfulness out there, the modern world, it's the materialism and relativism. It's so silly. It's sad. But we can do something in prayer. Because when Our Lady appeared again in this gesture, she is asking us, if you can look closely, Our Lady is asking us to pray, and pray a great deal. For many souls go to hell, for there is no one praying and making sacrifices for their conversion. Our Lady, in one of the apparitions in Fatima, opened her hands and showed the vision of hell to the shepherd children. That explains when these pictures were taken, you would probably think, they are so sad. They're not happy children, aren't they, in this photo? Because they have just seen the terrors of hell, those souls falling into the abyss of hell, screaming and wailing. You know, what a terrible sight for kids to experience. But that inspire them to pray even more for sinners. So again, thank you for having us here with the traveling statue, the International Pilgrim statue, traveling the world here in St.Jerome today. We will be visiting other churches in the area. I invite you to visit our website for more information, bluearmy.com, bluearmy.com, and we are inviting everyone to say yes to Our Lady, to respond to the requests made by Our Lady, because the message was not only meant for the children of Fatima, it is for everybody. That is why we continue on. That's why we're here. You know, 75 years The statue has been commissioned and sent. It's still traveling nonstop, continuously, until 2020 when the pandemic hit and we couldn't go overseas or internationally, and it kind of, we are slowing down. But then again, it's opening up, and I think it gets better. That's why we need to pray more. We need to go back on our knees in prayer. So again, thank you for having us here. My name is Patrick. Again, go to bluearmy.com for more information. Get the scapulars and rosary. I wish you were all here, but it is what it is, and we will continue to pray for one another. I also ask you to pray for me and my family, and pray for the mission and the work of the World Apostolate of Fatima, Our Lady's Blue Army. God bless you all. God bless us. Thank you.